So as we have discussed, we have to go for the z test for the difference of two mean. The z test for difference of one mean, whatever we have learned, the whole procedure is to be implemented for the z test for the difference between the two mean. But yes, as we have discussed, here we have the two samples for the consideration. So let me start with the testing the difference between two mean. Here we are saying that a random sample of size n1 has been drawn from population 1 with mean mu1 and variance sigma 1 square. A random sample of size n2, another sample we have taken from population 2 with mean mu2 and variance sigma 2 square. Then what we are looking for, the hypothesis of interest involves the difference. We are looking for the difference mu1 minus mu2 is either equal to 0 or not equal to 0. When we are saying the hypothesis is to test that whether mu1 minus mu2 is 0. So what we are looking for, we are looking for that the mean of the two populations are same, correct? And what should be the null hypothesis, sorry, alternative hypothesis then, that they are not same. So what actually we are looking for, we are testing the equality of the two population mean, or we can say to find out that is there any significance difference between the two sample means, correct? So actually here we are looking for the two samples from the two population, but sometimes we also consider two samples from the same population, as we have discussed here, that might be we are looking for the significance of the difference between the two sample means. So there only one population if is there, it's also feasible to go for the difference of mean. So what the formula is, first we have again H naught and H1 or HA, the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. We are looking for the equality versus inequality, means either both are same, the mean of the two population are same, or they are different, correct? So this is, you can say 99% of the time it is the same thing. It's very less chance that we are looking for the difference between two population is equal to this thing. It is also possible, correct? That's why I'm saying it is 99% chance that you are getting the example like this, but sometime it is there that they have been provided you the value, but we are ignoring the case because it is very rare chance. So we are assuming that h naught is always taken as mu1 minus mu2 is equal to 0. And if suppose in place of 0 we have been provided with the d value, the difference is something, then that difference will be subtracted from here, correct? I will tell you what the formula is. Now in order to start with the formula, let's write down what the formula we have for the one mean, one sample. What formula we have written there? We have written that if a sample of mean x bar is taken from a population of mean mu, then we have to find out whether the sample is coming from the population or not. And we have written that z statistic is x bar minus mu divided by sigma divided by under root n. And the sigma by under root n we have called it as standard error. Correct? Now here what we are looking for, in place of one sample we are having two samples, either from the same population or from the different population, correct? So here what we have taken, we have assumed an assumption that they are coming from the different population, correct? So if we have two population, one population and another population, we are taking the samples, one from here, one from here. So we have the population mean as mu1, here we have the population mean as mu2. If we talk about the standard deviation is sigma 1 here and standard deviation is sigma 2 here. And whatever samples we have taken, the small samples we have taken from the population 1. So here we have x1 bar as the sample mean, and the standard deviation, either known or not known, let me write down the symbol, is S1 here. And if we have taken a population second one and a sample is taken from here, we are taking no notation x2 bar and s2 as the standard deviation, correct? So what we are going to do here, we are taking the difference of the sample mean and the population mean, correct? Now here we are saying, since we have the two samples, their means are different, so we are looking for x1 bar minus x2 bar and the difference from actually mu1 minus mu2. But actually we have assumed it to be 0 in the h naught, so that's why we are not considering this mu1 minus mu2, correct? So this is what we are taking. Now, if we talk about the numerator is coming directly from, if you have learned the difference, sorry, the formula for the one mean hypothesis testing, so it is coming as the same. In place of x bar, we have to take the difference of x1 bar minus x2 bar. In place of mu, you can write on mu1 minus mu2. And finally, since mu1 minus mu2 is 0, we are leaving with x1 minus x1 bar minus x2 bar in the numerator. Correct? In the denominator, if I see, in the denominator what we are having in the single difference formula sigma by under root n, because we have only one population. Now if we see what we are having under root. If we take the under root, the same thing means if I have to write down this, then obviously this can be written as sigma square by n. This is the same thing if we are writing out sigma by under root n, because this is the notation we have written. But here we have just written it in another form. It is the same thing, because under root of square term will give me the same sigma. So we have taken square root outside, so it is sigma square by n. So for two populations out the two samples from which we have taken, we are combining their standard errors and we are getting sigma 1 square by n1 plus sigma 2 square by n2 and then whole under root. Correct? In case when standard deviation is known, obviously this formula will work. But as we have seen that most of the time the population standard deviation is not known, because might be possible we have some clue regarding the average, the mean. But standard deviation, that is not easy to be known for the population, because we are doing sampling to know the parameters of population. So it's very hard to say something regarding the standard deviation. So in that cases, we have to replace the sigma 1, sigma 2 by S1 and S2. Correct? So this is the formula: x1 bar minus x2 bar divided by under root of sigma 1 square by n1 plus sigma 2 square by n2. You can remember only one main formula, and whenever we are getting the same sample size, you have to take n1 n2 as n, the same thing. If sigma 1 sigma 2 is not given, you have to take s1 and s2. So you have to learn this main formula, and then you can write down the required formula along with the changes as and when required. Correct? Otherwise not. So let us start directly with the example, because no more theory is there to be learned. If we see, we have an example given for the average daily intakes by the men and women, and we are talking about the dairy product. So we have noted down that we have taken for a sample 50 men and 50 women. We are looking for the sample mean, means how much daily intake is there for the men and women, and what is the sample standard deviation, means how much they differ from the mean value. What we are looking for, because normally these type of surveys are being done by the health department or the nutritionist, they are looking for that is there any difference in the average daily intake of dairy product for men versus women. Normally we have seen that the diet pattern or the eating habits of the male and females are not same. So obviously they are looking for the dairy product, that how much dairy product is being taken by the men versus women. Is there really some difference or not? So for that they have taken 50 men, 50 women. Here you can see N1 and N2 are not different, and N are same. So we are looking for, are the two things different or same? So whenever these type of things are saying same or different, so obviously we are looking for the difference of two mean, because there is nothing like population. Now you can see we are not talking about population, we are just talking about men and women, obviously, which is a part of a population, and we are looking for the difference between their daily intakes. So how to write down? Let's see. Here we have H naught. H naught will be same in the case here. You can see there is nothing about the mean of population. Why we are taking mu1 and mu2? Because as a whole we have taken 50 men and 50 women, but we want to conclude regarding the whole population. So that's a reason that you have to take mu1 minus mu2, and we are considering it as 0. Correct? Because we are looking for, is there any difference? So we are saying no, they are same. This is our null hypothesis. An alternative hypothesis is that they are different. Correct? Now if we write down the test statistic, the next thing we have to write down test statistic is x1 minus x2 divided by, now here you can see we have not taken sigma 1, sigma 2, obviously they are not here. We have s1 and s2. So if we write down here what are the things given to us, 50-50, what we have written is, it's look like a 50-50 biscuit. So this is our n1 and n2, which is actually same. These are the sample means. Sample means we have this as x1 bar and this is x2 bar. Okay, one more thing, that can you think that there is any impact of taking x1 bar minus x2 bar according to whatever the given things are? Or is there any impact? Obviously not. I have taken x1 bar for men, x2 bar for women. You can take in the opposite way also. It doesn't affect our calculation or the decision, because finally we are going to take its mod. You remember in the decision we have taken mod of z to be compared with mod of z alpha. So that's the reason. So we are saying that here it doesn't matter which one is coming from x1 bar or the first value for x1 bar and other is x2 bar. So it doesn't matter. And if we talk about sample standard deviation, so obviously this is our s1 and this is our s2. Correct? So this, if we have applied x1 bar minus x2 bar under root of s1 square by n1 plus s2 square by n2, we are getting value as minus of 0.92. Correct? Now what is the standard value? We have the standard value again. Here in this case, you are not going to have some another table of z test or something different we are going to do. No. The values that we have learned as the standard values for the z test are still the same. So here if we talk about, we have 5% level of significance given to us, and what else? It is one tail or two tail? Two tailed. And you will see that in these difference of two mean, most of the time we will have the two tail test, but it's not so, but most of the time. So here we have the value of z as 1.96 for two tail, and if we compare, then null hypothesis is true. The decision is, since mod of z is less than mod of z alpha, null hypothesis is true. So what we have to conclude, we have to write down whatever hypothesis is now correct or not. So according to this, when null hypothesis is true, and null hypothesis was that mu1 minus mu2 is 0, it means the average daily intake of the men and women is almost same, or we can write down there is no significant difference in the average daily intakes of dairy product for men versus women. Correct? So this is, we have concluded regarding the whole population. You can see just by taking the 50 men and 50 women, and if you go to the management side, they are doing these type of research just by the surveys. Means whatever research or conclusions are coming nowadays also regarding the COVID-19, if we say that which type of food stuff is good for us, what has to be done, the things. So a lot of surveys are still going on, and whenever we have to do some survey and conclude something, then these tests come into the picture. Right? So whatever we are learning today is actually based on the real life scenarios also, and they are very useful in finding out any of the impact on the society also. Okay? So let's start with the next example. Here we are saying, in a survey, a sample of 100-day student has been marked 72.4 and standard deviation 14.8. Again, we have an example from the survey, that from a survey being done, we are getting 100-day student. Day student means those like you who study in the daytime. Correct? We have taken their mean marks and the standard deviation. And another sample of 209 students got mean mark 73.9 and the standard deviation is 17.9. So we have the statistics given regarding the mean and standard deviation and the number of students which we have been surveyed. And from this, what we want to find out? We want to find out, are the two means statistically different at 10% level of significance. At 10% level of significance, we want to find out that is there any difference between the mean marks obtained by the day and the night student. So day students are those who study in the daytime, night students are those who study in the night time. So again, what we have been given with, we have been provided with n1 and n2, x1 bar, x2 bar, and s1, s2. So all things are given regarding the samples. We have nothing for the population which is being provided, and obviously you can see we are going to decide regarding the population. So let's see what are the things. Here we have n1 n2, x1 bar, x2 bar, s1 and s2. These are the things given to us. Then we have the null hypothesis again, that mu1 is equal to mu2. We have assumed that the mean marks obtained by the day student is similar to the night student, those who study at the night. So here this is our null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis, that yes, they are not same, they are different. And again, in order to find out whether we are saying correctly or not, what we have the z statistics given by x1 bar minus x2 bar divided by under root of s1 square by n1 plus s2 square by n2. Correct? And we are getting minus of 0.769. What z we have written? Now tell me, according to you, you have to write down so that I can stop talking for some time, and you have to think and let me know what the decision is. We have a 10% level of significance. We have calculated a value. Now you have to tell me, is there any difference between the daycare and day student and night student, or their marks are almost same, because we are looking for the difference of mean. So we are talking about the mean marks obtained by them. So let me know what is the value of the z, how you are comparing, and finally what is the decision. Yes, write down the values. If not values, then obviously you will not be able to make the decision. And here we have the mod z in front of you. Hmm? When mod z is given, what we have to do, we have to just compare and make out the decision. So we have to do the decision, because otherwise it is just an input coming and no output I am looking for. Hmm? Yes, do it. No response till yet. It is not doing. Huh? Let me know whatever you are thinking for acceptance, rejection, whatever the things are. And here we have 17 to 18 students, those who are not responding. Huh? Okay, got one. Shubham is saying accepted. Chale, let's see what others are saying. Just write down what you guess, because actually it's not a guess. We have already the values in front of us, and we have to just compare it with the standard value. Yes, I have not shown you the standard value, so you have to see what is the value. Okay, Shubham is saying 1.645 is the value, and with which if we have to compare, then obviously mod z is less than of mod z alpha. Let's start with. So all others you are not active. Huh? You have to see what the decision to be done. Otherwise, might be possible that a teacher is doing some mistake. So be active and find it out. चलिए. So here,
मैम वैल्यू एक्सेप्टेड मैम. मैम आंसर इज 1.645.
ठीक है. चलिए. So this is what we have, that mod z was coming as 0.769, and the value of z at 2 tail and 10%. So the main thing is you must know the value. If value is known, then it's very easy to say that the value is less than 1.645. So null hypothesis is accepted. So two means are statistically equal. Or we can write down there is no difference in the mean marks obtained by the day students and the night students. So be sure to write down some remarks regarding whatever the question is saying. You have to respond in the same language. Correct? So let's start with the next example. Here we are saying from a state sample of 100 plots, the mean yield is 210 kg and standard deviation 10 kg. We are talking about the mean yield, so we are talking about the kgs. In another sample of 150 plots, mean yield is 220 kg with standard deviation of 12 kg. We have been provided with the data of the samples taken from a state. Correct? Assuming that the standard deviation of yield in the state is 11 kg, means something is provided regarding the whole state also, we have to test whether there is any significant difference between the yield of crops from the two samples at 5% level of significance. Correct? So what I have been provided with, we have been provided with N1 and N2. We are talking about the samples of 100 plots and another sample of 150 plots. So these are our N1 and N2. We have been provided with the mean yield, means we have x1 bar and x2 bar given to us, and we have been provided with sigma 1 and sigma 2. I'm sorry, s1 and s2, because we are talking about the samples. Correct? Now what we are assuming, it is given that assuming that the standard deviation of yield in the state is 11 kg, we have to find out whether there is any significant difference between the yield of crops of two samples or not. Correct? So let's see how the question is different. Here we have n1, n2, x1 bar, x2 bar, s1, s2, and a sigma also. Correct? And null hypothesis is obviously the same. Mu1 is equal to mu2, and alternative hypothesis is mu1 not equal to mu2. And if you look for the formula is saying x1 bar minus x2 bar divided by under root sigma 1 square by n1 plus sigma 2 square by n2. Now here how the question is different. Here actually you have to be careful regarding these s1, s2 and sigma. As we have already discussed that whenever something is given from the population, we have not to take something from the sample. So here also when we will do the calculation, you will see we are ignoring this S1 and S2. We are not using them because it is given that the standard deviation of the yield in the state is 11 kg. So you have to do the calculation taking sigma 1, sigma 2 as sigma, because actually here you can see we are talking about a state. We are not working on the different population. We are having a single population and we are taking two samples. From a state, we have a sample of 100 plots and another sample with 150 plots. Correct? So it means, so we are having the one sigma because we are having only one population, and obviously S1 S2 was given, but we are just ignoring them because we have to prefer the population parameter in preference to the sample one. Correct? So this is the only change, otherwise the same thing is there. Mod z you can see is coming very high, 7.07 7.05, and if we compared, obviously if we do not know the value also, and still we can say we are going to reject it, no? Because the values we have seen is coming in 1.2, 2.33, 2.5 at maximum. So here obviously the decision is that mod z is greater than mod z alpha, so null hypothesis is rejected. It means obviously there is a significant difference between the yield of crops. So these are the things you have to take care of. Whatever the things are given, according to that we have to find out the calculation. Correct? So this is all about the z test with 2 mean. And let us stop and we are going to start with the next one. Till I'm opening and starting with, if you are having any of the doubt, you can ask me. Just a minute. So now we are going to start with the t-test. So we have to be now very careful because we have learned one of the tests, and whenever another test we are going to learn, if one is not clear, obviously second is going to just make us confused. Okay? So we have to look for when we have to use the Z test and when T test will be preferred over the Z test. Let's start. The one thing is we are saying when to implement the t-test when the sample size is small, equal to or less than 30. We have seen in the z-test what we have learned, greater than 30. So here we are saying equal to or less than 30. So write it down as a main key point that it is a difference between the implementation of z-test and t-test. So here we are saying that whenever the sample size is small, and it is less than 30, then the estimation and testing procedure, whatever we have learned earlier, are not appropriate and they are equivalent for sample, small sample test and estimation procedure for when they are equal, when the mean of the normal population is given and the difference between the two population means they are equivalent for small sample test and estimation procedure for mu and mu1 minus mu2. So what we are saying is whenever we are working for a sample from a normal population and we are having normal distribution, then we have the formula z given by x bar minus mu divided by sigma by under root n. Correct? But here we have written in bold that if sigma is unknown, then what we have done in the earlier question also, I have also requested you that whenever sigma is not known, what we are doing, we are using s. Correct? But using s in place of sigma is just making the population which we have assumed to be normal that it is not normal. So this is the reason why we are saying that whenever we are using s in place of sigma, it is not appropriate, but yes, this is the only thing we have to do, otherwise we will not be done with the calculation. But what we are doing then, we have a sampling distribution which we are going to use when the normal population is not there, or we can say when we have a small samples taken out from the population. And here we are going to learn one new concept, degree of freedom. Here we have the same formula, if you can see. Earlier we have written z is equal to x bar minus mu divided by sigma by under root n. And here we are working with s by under root n. It means we are saying that whenever population standard deviation is not known, obviously we can take s, but it will be very good if we are using t distribution in that cases instead of z. Correct? So what we have done, we have just replaced sigma by s and we have written z to be eliminated and written t. Correct? And if we see what the change is, okay, let's have the first standard deviation, because till now we have been provided with the value of the standard deviation either for the population or sample, which is being provided to us because obviously the samples we have taken is large sample, and most of the example you have seen, we have I think 50, 100, 150, 200, 400, these type of sample sizes we have taken in all the examples, in which obviously it is not possible that here on the screen we can show you that these are the data of the samples. But here in the t-test, we must know how to calculate the standard deviation, which is obviously the basic of the stats, that we must know to calculate the mean and standard deviation, because here we need to calculate it. So I request all of you that if you know how to calculate the standard deviation, it's farewell, because we are going to use it in the examples of t-test, because we will be provided with the data also. Till now we have been provided with the statistical value that this is the mean standard deviation for one sample, mean standard deviation for other sample, and we are doing the comparison. Now either for one mean or two mean. But here we have to calculate first and then to work with it. Correct? So let's study what are the properties of t distribution, and you can compare it with the z distribution because it is almost same as that of Z distribution or the normal distribution. Okay, one thing that we can say is where we have written a bell-shaped curve. If you remember, for the standard normal distribution or the normal distribution, we have written that we are getting a curve which is bell-shaped curve. And here we are saying that we are getting a curve which is mound shape. It is almost the same thing, but the language is being changed. Here we are saying that we are getting a mound shaped curve which is symmetric about 0, and it is more variable in Z with heavier tails. Here I will show you a picture, might be the next slide, where we will compare the graph of whole Z test and T test, the T distribution, that how we are saying here that it has having heavier tails. Okay, one more thing, in the normal distribution, when we are talking about the standard normal, we said that there is no skewness and no kurtosis. No skewness means symmetric on both the side, and kurtosis means it is a normal peak, because we have learned regarding the peakedness of the data is represented by the kurtosis. Here what we are saying is that the shape of T distribution depends upon the sample size, or we can say the degree of freedom. Now, what is degree of freedom that we evaluate now? Suppose I have to find out. Let me take an example. Let me take that I am calculating some statistics, and I have to write down the four sample values. Correct? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to write down. But according to me, what should the value I have to represent as an average is known to me. So here you can see the value that I need to be represented. This is which type of work that we can say that we are just showcasing something, but value is already known to us. Correct? So here you can see if we have four values whose mean which is to be written as a result is known to me, then we can take the first three values as such. Obviously it has no effect, and in order to write down the mean which is required, I can just alter the fourth value. If whatever three values are coming, if I am writing them as such, it doesn't depict where the setting is to be done, we can say in the normal labeling language, or where the adjustment has to be done. It is only to be done in one value, and we can see by adjusting one of the value, we can see what is the required result. So here we are saying whenever we have n as a sample size, then how many are free to move? Obviously n minus 1 are free to move. We can do the adjustment only with the one of them. So that's why I'm saying that with t test or t distribution, we are saying that the shape depends upon the sample size n or the degree of freedom n minus 1. Right? So it means n minus 1 values are free for the whatever values they can take, and we need adjustment in only one if required. Correct? Okay, one more thing we have is n. As n increases, the shape of T and Z distribution become almost identical. As we have learned that what is the difference, we have seen that whenever we are working with the Z test, the sample size is large, and we are using t test, or we are saying that we will use t test when the sample size is small. And one more thing, that when the statistic of sample is known, we will use t test. Correct? Otherwise we will use Z test. But actually when you will go to the real scenario, most of the times, while doing the calculation for some experiment or some survey, we are using actually t test, because it is considered more reliable as compared to the Z test. Obviously, but here we are saying also that as n is increasing, t and z become almost identical. Here, this was the picture I was saying about. Here you can see, here we are talking about that as we are taking the degree of freedom, as degree of freedom is increasing, the z and t distribution are almost same. Here you can see on the graph, here we are showing this with the help of a, you can see it is the sample size is 4 and it is increasing. If it is increasing and approaching 10, then it is going to touch, both of the curves are going to join, and it becomes 20 and 30. As it becomes 30, they will almost near about as such. I think due to my pointer it has been stopped. See, now you can see the difference. Here it's showing a bar, and as the bar is increasing from 10, now it becomes 10, then 20 and 30. As it becomes 30, the two graphs are almost near about same, and actually it was coming here. You know? And you can see that here we are representing t distribution by a black line and the normal distribution by a red line. The above one is a red line, and we are saying t distribution. This black curve is approaching red curve, and you can see the tails were heavier in the early. Now I will stop it so that we can interpret it, because this is just a curve that if we have learned through it, then obviously it has an impact, because we know that whenever we have seen something, we have visualized, and obviously it has an impact on our mind. We'll learn it. So here you can see if this is the t distribution graph, we were saying that it has a heavier tail. Now how we can see here? See the difference? Here we are saying it has a heavier tail as compared to this z distribution curve, and this we are saying as a bell shape, and this black one, the distribution is mound shape. Mound shape means like a mountain. Correct. So it is coming here flat over here on both the sides, and they are heavier as compare. Heavier means the difference from here to here, to the axis to the curve, is more as compared to the z test, because in z test they are going near about same. It touches, actually it not touches, but it's approaching at 3, and then it's just leading to the infinity. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is some again in the properties that the distribution is symmetrical with mean 0, and it extends to infinity on either side. Okay. Now again we have to start with the procedure, but I think it's enough for today. We have learned the z test for difference of two mean, and we have learned how we are going to start with the t test. Formula is same, calculation procedure will be same. What I have requested you is be sure to go through the standard deviation formulas, so that along with me you can start working with. And obviously we have the ppt today as I have uploaded, so you have to go through the uh, examples, and you can ask